to American TESOL Presents Free Friday Webinars. I'm Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, your host, and we do this every Friday thanks to American TESOL. It's free. You can share it with your staff. You can share it with others because we record every session. If you go to youtube.com/user/ATESOL, ATESOL. You can get a certification in teaching with technology if you go to esltech.com. It is free for American TESOL members. Today we're going to have a great subject. A lot of different teachers, especially in North America, are going back to school. But even if you're just starting to a new course or a new class, mine actually begins next week. So I'm very excited about that. There are 10 tips that will help you to go back in like a boss. And like a boss, what I mean is with confidence, feeling excited, and also having a little bit of know-how and being able to have a really, really incredible year. So we, of course, are going to learn from one of the best teachers in history, which was Albert Einstein. And I'm so excited to present some of his thoughts today because not only was he a genius, but he was very much about the heart. He was much about creativity. I think we learn a lot from him as a teacher, and it's good to call him one of the great people of our field. So I think it's really nice. This is one of my favorite quotes, which was, "It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy and creative expression and knowledge." And that's something that we can attain to this year. This can be our mission. This can be what we hope that we can achieve with every single one of our students. It is important, like Albert Einstein often believed, to give your heart to others. But it's important to let our students know that each of them has the ability to live a meaningful life. So they have the ability to learn our subject. Maybe they won't be the best at the subject, but they can use that subject, whether we teach a language, which American TESOL offers a lot of resources for, but also for math and English and history and geography and science and biology and even complicated like chemistry, whatever it is, business, whatever our topic is. It's really, we are able to get our students excited about it. We are able to get our students passionate and also very curious about our topic. If that's not going to be their lifelong what they try and accomplish or their field they go into, at least we can get them curious and at least we can get them to get engaged. So the number one tip, there are 10 tips I will share with you, and a lot of them will be supported with Einstein quotes today. But the first one is to walk in motivated. If we walk in, our attitude has a lot of impact on our students, and it has a lot of impact on the way we teach. If we are enthusiastic, if we walk in and we love what we do, or if we leave our stress behind at the door, and I know that's easier said than done, then we really help our students to come in. They're going to come in with their own stuff. They're going to come in with whatever it is they were outside of us, whether it be work, whether it be they're tired, whether it be they're hungry, whether it be they just broke up with their girlfriend or boyfriend, whether they're excited because afterwards they're going to a date. Whatever it is, they're going to already have their own things they bring in the classroom. So it's important for us to get them focused. And one way to get them focused is to walk in motivated and be focused on our topic, but excited about it. Because if you walk in a room and the person who is leading the learning is not excited, then you will not be excited either. If they are tired, you will tend to be tired. You'll tend to be bored. If they're very nervous, then that usually riles up students, especially young and teenagers. Then they'll start acting up. So it's important for us to really begin to put our mind in that mind frame for teaching. Eating breakfast is really important. I know it sounds so blasé that a lot of, I know it sounds very common knowledge. I know it sounds like, something that they tell you all the time and something that you would probably think, oh, well, of course. But there are many times when I didn't eat breakfast, and if I get hungry, then I suffer from I suffer from what we call hangry, which is hungry anger. And so I inflict that upon others. And I know lots of other people that have this hangriness that they have as well. So it's important we eat breakfast, something healthy. It's good to also exercise, get it out. Sometimes with me, if I've had a particularly stressful day, even outside of the classroom, if I went home, and there have been days when I'm so beat tired, I just go and I fall on the bed and I sleep. And hi, everyone who's coming. We had a new assistant. Hi, welcome, assistant. We have Peggy and we have Zubia, and others will be coming soon, I hope. But it's important to exercise and also meditate, whatever can get you in that mindset. For some of us, that's going to be yoga. For some of us, that's going to be a prayer. That's going to be a chant. That's going to be listening to different music. Some of us, we're going to listen to Eye of the Tiger and be ready and pumped up to come in the classroom. And for others, it's going to be something relaxing like classical music. They did research, and in research they found, and this was actually in Greece, they did it for one of the universities there, and they were looking at runners, and what they did was and these were very successful runners. They had won for years, I guess, and had gone in the Olympics and things like that. But they did a study with them, and what they did was they had some of them repeat to themselves, do a little pep talk that said things like, I am going to the finish line, I'm going to achieve this. And they had them say certain things to give themselves what they call self-talk or a pep talk. I call it a self-pep talk. And this is what I do a lot of times before I do a speech, before I run in the morning, things like that. I mean, I constantly talk to myself and give myself pep talks. And they found that those runners, even though they were all very skilled, they're very good, they did better. They were faster. They achieved longer distances by giving themselves pep talks. So there's a lot. If we look at ourselves when we're driving and you're taking the transportation and you're stressed because there's a lot of people and you have a long time to wait or anything, take a few minutes. You don't have to talk out loud and let everyone think you're crazy, but you can give yourself a pep talk. You can look inside and you can say, hey, Shelly, you're going to rock it. You're going to have a great day at school. You're going to teach this lesson. I mean, you can just get like a little mirror maybe and then just say, like, you can do it. Like, you don't have to do the hand gestures, but you can give yourself a pep talk and you can let yourself know you're going to have a good day. Things are going to go good. Even if there's a fire drill, even if the technology doesn't work, you're going to be able to achieve great things with your students and get them to learn and have an impact. You can find a lot of these different resources. I actually have them all bookmarked. So what you can do is you can go to teacherbootcamp.com. It is the first post right there. And soon it is going to be it's going to also be at shellyterrell.com back to school. So you'll find all the links there. I'm not sure if I'm able to give you the link. Oh, yes, it's working now. My computer wasn't working earlier, so I couldn't do it. But I'm going to go ahead and get that link for you. And then you can have where you can download the slides. You can download, this time I included a PDF. And things like that. Thank you so much, Peggy. You already got it for me. So this was one of the posts that you can find there. And it's actually, we did this for the 30 Goals Challenge for Teachers, which is a book I wrote. But we crowdsourced and we got together, and a lot of us pinned ways that we avoid burnout as a teacher. So the goal was avoid burnout, and we have people like Vicki Loras, we have people like Tyson Seaburn, we have people like Theodora Theodore Pap, and a lot of people who come up and say how they avoid burnout and give you tips. And the reason why I had us do that on a Pinterest board and pinned it is because for each of us, releasing stress, there's not just one good way. So for me, it might be prayer, it might be meditation or something, but for you, it might be yoga, it might be Pilates, it might be running. You might be a runner and need to run 5 miles before you go into the class. I know that's the case with my really good friend, Principal L, and he's excellent, but he runs every day, and that's what he does. The next step is to engage parents. Um, I know parents are very difficult, especially for teachers, but there's a lot of ways that you can specifically engage them. There's a post in the Teacher Bootcamp one link that Peggy George just shared, but it talks about survival tips and gives you tons, 20, 30, 40 tips on how to engage parents. And it's important that at the beginning of the year, one of the things that we can do, one of the things that I do if you're working with young learners, things, or even teens and adults, is send a positive message about every child that first week, because you need to let the parent know that you're on that kid's side. There are times when that child is going to mess up, and there are times when that child's going to do something that, yes, we're going to have to let the parent know and have a discussion and conversation about, or they're going to get in trouble. And the parent is going to be less likely to think, oh, that teacher just doesn't like my son. Because I know my sister, her son acts up quite a bit, my nephew, unfortunately. And at the beginning, that's the way it was. It was like, nope, my son is right and you're wrong. But then she started listening, because she did find a teacher that really tried to work with my nephew. And so then she worked with that teacher. So if you are working with a parent, your life as a teacher is going to be so much easier throughout the year. Because if the parent likes you at the beginning, and trust me, if you say something good like, "Hey, Billy is an awesome kid. He's kind of funny. I mean, he's a funny kid. He makes us laugh. I really enjoy having Billy in the classroom. I can't wait to see what kind of learning happens." So if you do that with every child, and especially those parents where their child, they never get a good phone call or they get a good email or message about their child, is really going to like that you took the time to do that, especially the first week. Then they'll support. So whenever Billy does come and Billy says, okay, I got in trouble with the teacher, they'll say, look, Billy, Mrs. Sanchez, really likes you. She's tried with you. Can you give her, can you help her out here? Or why don't we work together? Versus the opposite. If I didn't do that, and the first message is when Billy does act up after the first week, and I say, Billy cheated, which I've done before. I've actually made the mistake of not giving a positive message first. Then what happened was that Billy, I've done that where I've said Billy cheated, and I've tried, and then I got a screaming parent come into the room and say, you don't like my child, and things like that. And throughout the year, that child continued to give me problems. And why? Because the parent, if they don't like you, then at home they're going to keep talking bad about you, or they're going to do things like say, your teacher, I don't know about her, So if you get on the parents' good side, then you're going to have a lot less trouble throughout the year. There's other ways to do it. In the post, I talk about how to send massive email. It's how I moderate and send 500 emails at once and make them personalized for my conferences, for my MOOCs. And it's called Formula. It's free. It's part of Google. You can create an email even in Google. And what it does is it takes every name and it just emails it to a group of people. You can put in different things like their first name. If you have them fill in a Google form, a free Google survey, you just go and they put in the information. Then the email will be sent, and you have the opportunity to add feedback and stuff to make it personalized. There's also where you can make an email in Google Doc, and if you make it through a Google Doc, then you can translate it into the parent's home language. And I always start off with a line that says, "I'm sorry, this isn't a perfect translation." Sometimes I ask the student, will you help me translate, make sure that the grammar and everything is good in this email? And I'll hand them the email that Google sent me in the translation. And that's for parents. If your language, if you're teaching English, then that's good for parents who don't speak English. And a lot of times you'll meet that. You'll have parents that have very low levels of English sometimes. You can host parent workshops. And when you do this as a team, do it with a group of teachers. And that way you can have a few of you present while a few of you take the kids or the teens and do something with them. Either have them play puzzles, have a maker space where they can make things while the parents are busy and the parents are learning different technology and seeing what you're going to do throughout the year. So that's how you can do that. It's important to get students and parents to sign an acceptable or responsible use policy. That looks a little like this. What it means is when you're using technology, you're getting the parents to say it's okay to use my child's image. It's okay to get a video recording. It's okay to publish, even if it doesn't have their face and stuff. You got to get permission to publish their work online to avoid in the future any problems with that. It also has usually a code of conduct that you have with students that tells them how you expect them to behave with the materials, with different things as well. So with the technology, and what are the consequences if they go to bad site, if they post inappropriate stuff online. So acceptable use policy, responsible use policy, I think is really important. Einstein says, I never teach my pupils. I only attempt to provide them the conditions in which they can learn. So your third tip is to change your class environment. If we have students in rows and desks facing us each of the time, then that means we're lecturing most of the time. How can you change that? Well, one way to engage students and make sure they're speaking, they're reading right. So it's important that during class they actually do things with the learning. You can there's a movement, and we've actually done a slide and presentation on this, which is flipped class. We've talked about the flipped class movement before, how to do flipped class, and I really like that movement. And one of the reasons why I like that movement is because it gets the lecturing and the learning outside, and then in the class time you can focus on getting students to really do different things with the language. And you can get them to do tasks, you can get them to do activities, they can do exercises. So sometimes we don't have enough time for both. So you can do that. You can, if you want to lecture or if you want to show them and get them to learn, then get them to do that at home, and then when they come in, you can do that. But there's other ideas. I list about 20 or 30 ways to spice up a lecture. That's part of Teacher Bootcamp as well. And you're going to find that link when you go to the Teacher Bootcamp site. This is where the links, that's where you'll find a previous recording. That's where you'll also find the slides to download, and you'll find a free PDF. Another way you can change up your classroom, have a makerspace. This is with Wesley Fryer, a really great, fantastic teacher, and they've done that. Makerspace, you don't have to have technology necessarily. I've had in the past recyclables. We've gotten those donated from companies. Sometimes a lot of companies, if you go, they're restoring their computers or they're getting rid of their computers. You can sometimes go to a computer shop. You can ask places like HEB, like supermarkets and grocery stores, different things like that. And what they do is you have boxes. You can have them donate, and have even parents. A lot of parents and students have computers that are old, that are just sitting there, that they have parts and pieces. Just make sure they're safe parts and pieces. We don't want anyone to get hurt. A glue gun is usually very good, but make sure somebody is responsible for the glue gun so it doesn't hurt anyone. You may have things where you can buy kits sometimes where they can build things like a cheap computer. They can put together a battery. Lego has a lot of things that you can put in a makerspace. So you can add things like construction paper. Crafting, if you like things like sewing or crafting, and that's something you have, you can even do things like that. So a makerspace is where they make things with different types of materials. Learning stations. There's a resource in that link as well that's called the How To of Learning Stations, which was another presentation we did. And you can get your students to be playing games or reading. Learning stations are a great way to really work with students. And I've used learning stations with very young learners, 4 years old, all the way to to college. And I'll have things like magazines, books, things like that. And the reason I have it is because your students finish different times, and when your students finish at different times, um, they're gonna act up and misbehave if they have nothing to do. So when I had students, for example, I had students that were ADHD. I've worked with students that are autistic and things like that. They need to be constantly doing something with their hands. They need to be busy, because if their mind isn't, then their mind kind of just drives them a little crazy. So it's important that you get them to have places. And the great thing is, if you have a learning station, it's called Learning Station. So it means that they can go read a book, and some of them will. They'll go and they'll just take a book and they'll read it in the corner. They just need time to be away sometimes. Or they'll build. I found a lot of luck with Legos and Lincoln Logs and things like that in a learning station at a drawing where they had colored pages and things. And now, if you have adults, now they have those adult coloring books, and a lot of adults love them. So there's lots of things you can do with the learning station. Take it outside, have your lessons. It's really nice in Texas right now at the moment, but sometimes in other places around the world it is. But when it is nice, and you can take them around the school building, even if it's 5 minutes to read, 5 minutes to speak to each other and do a game, a language speaking conversation game. Maybe if it's 5 minutes and they take a picture real quick, and then come back in the classroom and talk about it. You can do things about nature, verbs, so many different ways to teach that way. It's important to let students create their own learning environment. If you want to create a classroom community, if you want it to be a community, the way to do that is they have to have an investment. If everything in the room is you, then it is your class. It's actually not your students' class, it's your class. So it's important to have student stuff. So here, they have learning stations here. It's not your typical ones, but they have a puppet show station here. You can see here, this little boy is reading or something with his station. Over here, he's listening to something, so that's a listening station. So your learning stations don't necessarily look all alike. Here they have their drawings, they have their words, they have where they're coloring. That's probably another station, but they have a lot of themselves there. They have their artwork and things. I like to put a big banner. This works with teenagers as well, and they can draw on it. There's one wall, it's all butcher paper, and students can put in quotes. They can put in something that's very motivational by them and things like that. So I think that's really important. There are other ways. You can use things like, make sure your virtual learning spaces, if you have a wiki, if you have a blog, if it's Schoology, if it's Edmodo, if it's a Weebly, your students can help design it. One of the things that I really love about KidBlog and EduBlogs is your students, when they have their own blog, then it becomes theirs. They get to choose a theme, they get to choose what's in it. And when they get to have choices and they see it, then that means they're going to be engaged and more active in it, because they see it as themselves in it. So I think that's very important. You can have photo collages where they have lots of photos in it. Bulletin boards, have them decorate the bulletin board. And this saves you a lot of time. This helps you with having to do everything. Idea Paint is where, and you can find this cheaper at places like Walmart or places that are very inexpensive. You can find this at a lot of stores, like painting stores, a cheaper version. But what it is basically you can put this kind of paint. It's kind of a clear coat in a way, and it's on the table or it's on a wall. And what it makes it do is where your students can write on it, and then it doesn't destroy it. It doesn't destroy the surface. So it's really good. Einstein said what is right is not always popular. What is popular, not always right. Especially with our teenagers, this is an important lesson to learn. It's important that when they walk in the classroom, that we get away from punishing and we get more into getting them to reflect on their choices and to make and the consequences of that choice and to make better decisions. So when your students get in the class and they say something that's obscene and everyone laughs, that's because they think, oh, I want to be popular, I want attention. So in the past, I've gotten upset, I've gotten very angry or something, and then it is made it worse. It's made it worse because my anger made that student more angry, and then that's led to a worse situation. So now what I do is I really and even I realized after a few years of writing them up or sending them to the principal that that wasn't effective at all. That it was better for me to calm down, for let the child calm down, and then sit down and talk with them afterwards and say, look, I really care about you, I know that you're better than this and I expect better from you. What's going on? What are you going to do to make sure that you make a better choice next time? And so something like for example, I wrote a blog post once and it talks about a teenager who threw a chair at me, and we had this talk, and I found out it was about his dad. He was frustrated and all these things. After the talk and stuff, I didn't send him the principal or anything. I told him, let him know that's not the way it's supposed, he's supposed to act. That was not a good choice. And we talked about what he was going to do to make up for that. And then he never threw a chair at me again. Nobody else threw one at all. And there were a lot of boys that they had, teenage boys that had anger management issues actually, but they never got violent. And I think it was because it showed that I cared, that I was willing to listen to them. And I wasn't going to be another person, another adult in their life that wrote them off and said, you're just a bad kid. Or you just, because really, our students, they're still growing up, they have development issues, this is developmental stages, like Erickson says, and they have to learn, and they learn from us how to act and make better choices. So I think it really helps. Now, of course, if it's a repeat offender, and obviously there's a lot of things going on in the house and things like that, at that point you may want to get a counselor involved. And of course, things that you absolutely have to document, then yes, you have to document it. You have to put it with the, for example, I found some of my girl students once, teenagers, language learners, and they were in the bathroom smoking. Yes, I had to report that. They had to go to the principal, um, but for other things, there's a lot of minor issues that happen that we do not have to write up, or we do not have to send them to the principal. We can have a talk with them and help them to make better choices so they don't repeat that. Because if they keep repeating the same thing all the time, then it just disrupts the class. But if we get them to make a better choice, then we save all that time from when they interrupt the class or disrupt it because we have to take care of it. One way to do this is get them at the beginning of the year to come up with the rules together. Come and then what consequences, and make sure when you have the conversation about consequences and choices, and I have that a lot, choices, consequences. We got to make sure to match up for that. Andrea, that's a good question. Andrea says, how would you recommend they make up for misbehaving or just talk? There's a lot of, it depends what it is, but for example, in the past, I've had them do things like they volunteered to, for example, for that particular one, he had to, for the week, take care of the classroom, like the cleaning up, like making sure all the chairs were put up because he was destroying or throwing away property and things like that. Now, the talk was about, respecting adults and also the way to react when they are upset, how to handle that better. And that talk was with that next time we're going to have to involve your parents, and we're going to have to involve the counselor, and we're going to have to figure out better ways. And then he also had to come up with the list of what he would do when he got angry or got upset, how he would calm himself down. And we came up with things like he would ask me to take time. Hey, I need a breather or something. And that was with all the students. It wasn't just special for him, but any of the students were able to do that. So that's what I mean by things like that. Now, if it's something like cheating, then maybe it could be something like where they help come up with well, cheating is actually one of those sticky points too, though. So it depends what it is that they do. And things like in the past, I have said, okay, you do get a 0 because you cheated, but then you're going to be helping and tutoring someone else or helping someone else the class help give a presentation on the material or things like that to make sure that the consequence matches what it is. And sometimes that's tricky to figure out. But at the beginning, if you talk with students and you get them away from, it's funny because the first thing they're going to say is things that punish. Oh, send them to the principal's office. And then you can have that conversation. Well, what is going to be a consequence that matches that behavior, that matches that choice? And then you get to teach them that things aren't always about punishment. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times it's you get a consequence for an action. If I speed, if I decide I'm speeding in my car, then I'm going to get a ticket. I'm going to have to pay a lot of money to it. And if I pay a lot of money, then that might not be in my budget. And that leads to all kinds of consequences. I might not be able to buy my mother a gift because I spent that money, because I decided to make that choice of speeding, and things like that. So that's what I like to get them to reflect on, that it's not the ticket and you're being punished, but it's all these things and how it impacts others as well. And talking about impact others, they sign a code of conduct. It looks a lot like this, and a lot of times it also looks like where they have a buddy. They have a buddy because we're a community, and the buddy says, I'm going to help you be successful in this class, and I will, it helps also with when they sign this, they come up with so we put all those rules and we put them in I will statements. I will arrive on time. I'll be nice to others. And these are things that they come up with. I will clean after myself. I will listen. And when they don't do that, then usually I'll make a poster or something and I'll point to it. And then I'll talk to the person next to them. I'll say, Maria, Roger here didn't. Roger here has forgotten to clean after himself. So since you decided to be his buddy, will you help Roger clean after himself? And trust me, when they have a buddy and the buddy is impacted by it, then the buddy gets really upset and they don't do it again because they don't want their friend to get upset either. Einstein says, I never make one of my discoveries through the process of rational thinking. He also says something, and I didn't put it in here, but he says that we cannot solve problems with the same thinking that was used to cause those problems. And with that in mind, it's important we use the textbook as a guide, but we teach with so much more than the textbook. The textbook should be the least thing we teach with. Now, I'm not saying books, because if you introduce very different books, different thoughts, different authors, well, then that's a really good thing. But we don't want to be just from the textbook. A lot of times, big corporations create textbooks. They don't make them for students. They don't make it for students to be engaged. They don't put in relevant information. Sometimes they color information a lot. For example, I'm from Texas. We have huge publishing companies, and our Texas books for a long time painted one side of the story of the Alamo, but in fact it was not. There was a lot of history that I learned when I went to college that was so different than the history that I learned in Texas. And so it's important that we get our students to learn different perspectives. They get tons of different experts and knowledge keepers and things like that. Different authors and different people in different fields, Skyping with an engineer, Skyping with a mathematician, getting them to do a report on Rene Descartes, different things like that. Then we introduce them to people who are working in the field every day. And you can find a lot of these. I actually have a blog post. Just you can go to Teacher Reboot Camp. It's still in that same post with links. You'll see the link, and it says 20 ways to bring your textbook to life. It includes playing games. It includes also getting them to use technology, having the internet. It includes a lot of these things as well. Realia, bringing in, having them do an experiment, something like Sync or Float, using graphic organizers, visual aids, total physical response. You have all of these different things depending on the age group, depending on the level. Chants, comics, TED Talks. I mean, there's so much you can bring in to really supplement instead of having them with the textbook. The great thing about it is that if you do this as well, then your students are going to be a little bit more engaged in the textbook. They'll actually pay attention to the things in the textbook. Because you're using it so little, so they'll say, "Oh, well, my teacher thinks this is an important part, so let's learn from this." Sometimes there's some great features of a textbook. They have good maps and things like that. Another example is Pluto. For a long time, textbooks said that that was a planet, and now it's no longer a planet. So it's important that we have different things in addition to our textbook to help supplement. And a lot of textbooks will actually give you CDs now. They'll have a website, a companion website. They'll even reference other tools. They'll tell you, here, you can use this tool. You can download this graphic organizer. You can do this. And so they make it a little bit easier for you to use different things as well. Build your survival kit. We actually have for the 30 Goals Challenge. This is one of the challenges that are up there right now. Your survival kit, mine usually includes masking tape. It's basically whatever you can carry around. And then, I try to carry it in this big purse as a pug like Roscoe, but that can carry around in case your students get bored, you see that they're just not getting it together with the lesson. Then you can do something like, for example, you can get this ball, you can throw it around and start asking questions to get them doing a review where you throw the ball, and so things like that can liven up a classroom. Let's say that you only have let's say that you don't have a lot of time because there was a fire drill. So how are you going to be able to learn your lesson for the day? There's a lot of activities, icebreakers you can do with masking tape. You can put a masking tape line on the ground, and you can have a pro and con debate. You can say, okay, jump to one side if you agree about the 1920s prohibition. And then and so these are ways to really get teaching done and to fall back. Let's say the computers don't work for some reason, and you planned a whole lesson on computers. And so these are ways that your survival kit is a way for you to be able to do things. And part of that survival kit is technology. I have a lot of things on my mobile device that I can refer to make a lesson go. These are for my young learners. I had things like movies, I had things like books, lots and lots of great books for story time. In case they didn't like one book, and all of them said, "Oh, teacher, we don't like that book," then I could switch and change to another book. So it's good to be flexible. Things like where you have colors. They could do that with their handouts instead of filling out their handouts with pen and paper. Things like having games. We would play Clue, Taboo, just different things like that. Only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile, is what Albert Einstein said. So it's important to cultivate relationships. There's a lot of things that you can do, like to foster teamwork. Icebreakers, I have tons of icebreakers, over 100 icebreakers I've recently blogged about. If you go to teacherrebootcamp.com, you'll see some for teens. You have a back to school selfie adventure you can download. You can download the PowerPoint template, hand it to your students because it's blank. It's a blank template that they have to fill out. You can do things like there's 20 plus ones for children that are icebreakers for them, some for adults, things like two truths and a lie, things like digital bingo, human bingo, the hot seat, things like that you'll find on the blog. Or you can go to shellyterrell.com and you can go to icebreakers. There's some like these. You can see many of the ones that I've done with my trainees and my teachers in the past. Integrate technology effectively. Well, to integrate technology effectively, like I said, I use my phone a lot. That's a lot of how I do things on the go. Um, Pedagogy is the driver, technology is the accelerator. So when you're integrating technology, I think there are certain things you have to know. And there are a lot of really good theories out there or ways for you to teach effectively with technology. edorigami.wikispaces.com by Andrew Churches. Andrew Churches is who has digital blooms. He has made Bloom's taxonomy to something a lot of us teachers learn, and he has made it digital. He has put digital steps in there, and it's in different languages. They have translated in different languages, so you can even share it with other teachers. They're free PDFs to download by Andrew Churches. It's really incredible. It has like different ways to teach. And a lot of your teachers will like it because they've already are familiar with Bloom's. Connectivism, it's the way that we connect with others online, how we think about who we follow, how the people we follow or the information we follow or the organizations, the celebrities, all of that, it really impacts our learning and how we impact their learning. Digital pedagogy. Tim Buck-Teeth is one of my favorite people I follow. He always has some new pedagogy coming out. He blows my mind a lot. SAMR is the really great model a lot of teachers use. There's also TPAC, which I don't have on here, but you can learn any of these. You can go research them and see how it just helps you teach better. It gives you a grounding on what it is to work with technology because it is different. It's easy to add a technology component to current lessons or projects. So take a lesson you love. You can even write it in the chat box. What are you going to do with students this year? Are you going to have them write an essay? Are you going to have them perhaps do writing prompts? Are you going to have them um, even with pen and paper? That's fine because a lot of those activities are great. Are you going to have them do a poster project where they carry in a big poster? If you're going to have them do something like that, you can go to something like edshelf.com, graphite.org, ilearntechnology.com, ideas2inspire.co.uk, all free sites. They help you come up with tools that are free that you can use for any device. So for EdShelf, you could say, I teach 10-year-olds. You can basically do a search. It's like the Google for tech tools. Graphite is as well. So you could say something like, we have Chromebooks. I need something for third grade, 10-year-olds, things like that. I want it free, and I want to do something where we're coding, and then you're going to come up with all these free resources for it. I want my students to play a game. You'll find things where there's games for students. I want my students to create a game. So things like that you'll find here. Ideas to Inspire I Learn Technology gives you actual lesson plans from teachers that gives you ideas. So what it is it's full of ideas. Ways to Inspire Us has like 20 ways to use an iPad, 50 ways to use VoiceThread, 100 ways to use Voki, things like that, and it's crowdsourced. It's teachers all over the world. You can even add your own to it, your ideas, but it gives you ideas, and that's why it's called Inspiration Ways to Inspire, because you're inspired, and the idea is to take these ideas, take them, say, I'm going to use them in my classroom. That's why they're there, so you can use them and you can adapt them. You can adapt them to meet your students' needs. And finally, the last one, because I've kept you here long enough, is to make it fun. When I'm working at different age groups and places, I get in there too. If I'm going to have my students, I'm going to make sure that they know that I love being there. I love, even when it gets really stressful, and it does, if I'm a happy teacher, and that's good for your health. A lot of people say, you look really young. And the way that I think I keep my youth is because I'm constantly having fun. I love what I do, or else I wouldn't do it. And I think a lot of teachers, especially the teachers I meet all the time, are like that. They love what they do. Sometimes it's it's overbearing. There's so much you give to all the students you meet. But I think when you make it fun, when you make it to where you're motivated again, when you have a personal learning network, when you connect with teachers every day, teachers just like you, it gets easier and it gets better. So a lot of times policy will make it really tough for us, but there's so much good. If we look in the positive, we keep ourselves motivated, then that's really great. And I'll end with this Albert Einstein quote, which is teaching should be such that what is offered, our learning, what the materials, content, our instructional practice, all of that, students should perceive it as a valuable gift. When they walk in the classroom and when they leave the classroom, they should be excited. And there's ways to get students excited about any subject: math, science, English, learning another language. Even though it's hard, you can get them excited and motivated. Hopefully, these tips really helped you. Hopefully, you'll find a lot of valuable resources there. So that way, your students don't think, oh, I have to learn English with Miss Sanchez. No, that they'll say, yes, I get to learn English with Miss Sanchez or with Miss George or Mr. Reichenstein or Miss Pillars. I'm not saying any of these names right? But that they get to do that, and Mr. Einstein, that they're doing this, and they walk out of it and saying, "Yay!" Even if they don't, if they pretend that they don't, but you can tell because of their smile. So I think that's really good. A lot of these are part of the 30 Goals Challenge. You can join the 30 Goals Challenge. You don't have to buy the book or anything. There is a book, but we have a whole bunch of teachers that are proposing goals this year. We're going to try before December 31st to accomplish 30 short-term goals. You don't have to accomplish 30. You can choose to accomplish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of them are these 10 ones. So you can go to 30goals.com and you can find the information. You can connect with other teachers. All of that is free. And of course, you can always connect with me on social media. You can usually find me on all social media: Google, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, Instagram. I'm either Shell Terrell or Shelly Terrell. So either of those, you'll find me. So thank you so much. And I really thank you for being here. I hope you have a fantastic year ahead and walking motivated, and also have a lot of, you feel like you're more supported now.